Could Portland have a flood to match the Midwest? Wednesday at 6:30.
The great floods of 1993 are beginning to look like a war zone as Des Moines tries desperately to repair its water supply system, and President Clinton tours the devastated areas.
This is a special edition of NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Tonight, reporting from Des Moines, Iowa.
Good evening from the capital of Iowa, where it rained again today. President Clinton came to town. He looked at the flood damage and said he'd never seen anything like it. The president has asked Congress for $2.5 billion. That's almost double his earlier request for Midwestern flood relief. He said he'll almost surely need more, and Senate Republican leader Bob Dole promised quick cooperation. As for the weather in the rest of the flood area, storm clouds moved through the area again. There was more rain, and more is expected to come. Now, here's some of what the president said and did here today. The president was stunned by the spread of the flood and the damage since he last visited Iowa just before his trip to Tokyo.
That's why we lost electricity.
250,000 residents remain without water in Des Moines. That's the largest American city ever to be in that condition. Iowa politicians were with the president at every step. They said they want their state to be treated at least as well as the victims of Hurricane Andrew in Florida. The president also met with volunteers and victims who lined up to receive water trucked in from surrounding states.
Can't take it anymore.
Later, at the site of a massive volunteer effort to reinforce a levee around the Des Moines water plant, the president couldn't resist the temptation to be photographed filling his own sandbag. But to accommodate presidential security and the press, the volunteers did stop sandbagging for a time. All 99 counties in Iowa have been declared disaster areas, virtually the whole state. Illinois and Missouri have yet to see the worst of it, and they're suffering as well. Tonight, NBC's Jim Cummins is still at his Iowa post, and Dawn Fratangelo is covering Illinois and Missouri.
Since Clinton last visited Iowa 10 days ago, the state has gotten almost 5 more inches of rain. Reservoirs have filled to overflowing. Rivers and streams have spilled out of their banks, crushed levees, driving thousands of people out of their homes and businesses, and contaminated the water supply in Des Moines.
This is a different sort of emergency than I saw 10 days ago.
In that statewide radio address, the president said he is asking Congress to provide money for flood victims in 5 states.
The bill will initially ask for about $2.5 billion in disaster funds.
Clinton promised to seek even more if necessary. The flood victims who crowded into the county clinic for tetanus shots heard the president's message and liked it.
I'm real confident that he's going to do something to help the people of Des Moines and Iowa.
The big question, how fast?
Well, they were saying 2 to 3 weeks, which is fast, but, you know, a lot of us, there's people with no homes now that need it right away.
Today, there was even more rain, forcing volunteers in the National Guard to continue their fight against the floods outside the waterworks in Des Moines. Engineers are working round the clock to restore water service by Sunday. An ominous warning overnight, a fire that destroyed a local print shop while firefighters pumped water from trucks.
My worst nightmare now would be that we would have a fire in a high-rise, multiple-dwelling type building that was occupied by senior citizens.
This is becoming routine, and now the authorities are warning people to even boil this water before they drink it. Most, like Carolyn Rosenfeld, say they will.
Just going from one container to another.
Yeah.
That's why I take a chance.
Business losses continue to mount. The business district resembles a ghost town. The manager of this Marriott expects his hotel will lose $300,000 by the time it reopens next Monday. Iowa Governor Terry Branstad said, what we need now is a month of sunshine, but the forecast is for more thunderstorms tonight and tomorrow. Jim Cummins, NBC News, Des Moines.
This is Dawn Fratangelo in New Canton, Illinois, where the biggest stretch of farmland along the Mississippi is now in danger. It's the country's second largest agricultural valley.
If it would entirely flood, you'd have 110,000 acres underwater.
The levee protecting the district stretches 60 miles, and it's leaking.
We got a lot of water. A lot of water.
Workers are trying to reinforce every inch. To help, Illinois has activated 3,500 National Guard troops, the most since the riots of '68. They make up a team effort with volunteers and even 10-year-old Scott Kendrick.
It just feels like I'm doing something instead of sitting at home, like I'm helping.
Put just a small roll right there, Dan. Just to hold
Scott's father, Dan, could lose 1,100 acres. He'd rather save his land now than seek federal aid later.
95% of your farmers in this valley, in this bottoms down here, they don't want a loan. They don't need another loan. That's not the fix. The fix is to get this levee to where it'll control this river.
The farmers in this district pay a tax to maintain this levee system. They believe it's money well spent. They're just not willing to pay the ultimate price.
If it breaks here, everybody south of us is going to be relieved, because you got 110,000 acres, and if it covered it all, it's going to take a lot of relief off below us.
They got some relief overnight from these 2 levee breaks upriver, which sacrificed other areas. 2 days ago, Mark Vonderhaar thought he could save his home. He was wrong.
Had a little tough riding around in the yard in a boat. Walking through with waders on.
The river has defeated him. He plans to sell his house and move his family.
It's going to be hard for them to leave their home, but they don't realize, really how much it's really going to affect everything.
It is a cruel, one-sided game the Mississippi plays. Still, thousands hold out for a chance at winning. Dawn Fratangelo, NBC News, New Canton, Illinois.
Late this afternoon, at the end of his tour here, I talked to President Clinton about what can be done and how quickly. Mr. President, in the long reach of history, you'll be judged by war and peace and the economy and a lot of other things. But short term, there's no greater test for a president than solving or at least trying to relieve something like this, is there?
I think it's really important because people here are hurting. You've got people in this town that have lost their homes and all their personal possessions and had their businesses go under. Farms devastated all over this whole Mississippi River area. So it's a real test. We need to be here, we need to be aggressive, and we need to do what we can to be good partners with them in putting their lives back together.
Mr. President, a lot of these people want money and they want it now. This is their summer growing season. Small businesses are shut down. Restaurants can't do business. Can you help them get cash in short order?
We can help them get cash pretty quickly. First of all, there are some funds available now for people that are just thrown out of their homes and have had no money to live on under the ordinary appropriations of the FEMA. And then we're going back to Congress. I sent a bill up this afternoon to ask for $2.5 billion more with a clear understanding that over the next week, if we get new estimates and we need more money, I'll ask for more. They will move that bill in a hurry. So I think you'll see some real action.
Finally, what's the impact of this on your very finely tuned budget process, which is now underway?
Well, it won't affect the bill that we're passing now on the 5-year deficit reduction figures. All that will be just as it is. It will add some to the deficit this year by whatever amount we fund this. However, that's the way it's always been. There is no partisan dispute over this. We owe it to these people. And the good news is that the deficit this year is $20 billion less than we thought it was going to be in January because we got interest rates down. So we have to be able to afford this. We don't have a choice.
Is nature trying to tell us something about development?
Well, nature is trying to tell us that at least we're not in full control. And we need to go back and review where we are on this in terms of whether these communities have protected themselves. But remember, Tom, most of this severe damage was done several feet above the 100-year floodplain. And we know that once in a century, Mother Nature is going to send us a message about who's still in control, and that happens.
Thanks, Mr. President. When Nightly News continues in a moment, Mother Nature continues as well to challenge government agencies. Are they up to the job? We'll have an insider's report tonight. And an unusual government fire sale, the auctioning off of 6 of America's most glamorous resorts.
So, your international calling plan makes you choose a favorite country. But what happens if you add other countries or other people? Introducing the most worldwide from Sprint, the only calling plan that guarantees you savings on the 2 international numbers you call the most each month, even if they change. Once more from the top, boys.
Now get $50 free long distance with the most worldwide, only from Sprint.
We could spend all day here.
What if my diarrhea comes back?
He took my Imodium AD caplet.
Imodium AD caplets often work in one dose, unlike the old standby.
Ready?
Before the sun sets?
Imodium AD, the choice for one-dose relief.
More and more people are turning to Imodium AD caplets because Imodium AD relieves diarrhea better than other brands, and it's the first caplet to stop diarrhea, often in one dose. Imodium AD caplets, the original prescription for one-dose relief.
These raging floodwaters have forced thousands of people from their homes, but even with water lapping at their doors in many instances, many are staying put. The Coast Guard goes to check on them, and today NBC's Kenley Jones went along.
Come ride with the Coast Guard across Lake Mississippi. That's what people are calling the submerged towns and farms that lie between the flooded Mississippi and Missouri rivers. The Coast Guard checks on residents who have stayed in their homes despite the rising tide. Steve Sanfield had hoped to wait out the crest with his dog Dixie, but now he's leaving.
I'm going to have to because there's getting a smell in there, and, you know, the frogs, there's so many frogs in there you can't sleep at nighttime anymore.
Mike Mentert and his son Eric took a boat to check out his farmhouse today. All but 50 of his 800 acres are flooded, and water is 6 inches deep in the house.
It came up pretty good since yesterday. It was raising about an inch a day, and now last night or since yesterday it raised about 3 inches, I guess.
Almost all of the Coast Guardsmen who are running these patrols are reservists who have been called to active duty. John Heber is a firefighter and paramedic in civilian life. He's touched by what he's seen.
You know, I really feel for the elderly that have lost, things that they've, lived with all their lives.
The water has not reached Jim Grunwald's home. Years ago, his father built the family farmhouse on the highest ground he could find.
He said he didn't care how silly he thought the neighbors thought it looked being on a mound, that he was going to stay high and dry. So
high and dry. Unfamiliar words on this lake between the rivers. Kenley Jones, NBC News, West Alton, Missouri.
Des Moines is the largest American city ever to lose its water supply, and for the 250,000 people here, life without working faucets, without showers, without toilets, well, it's a daily challenge, to say the least.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Water is the currency in Des Moines. Businesses like this brake and muffler shop are trucking it in and distributing it free. They're good Samaritans, and it's good for business.
Good luck to you.
A large local dairy has converted part of its plant to pasteurized water, which is then distributed to hospitals or handed out to residents, again free. It's part of the payback to the community.
We do anything for this community. They buy our products, and we're part of it too.
Young families used to all of the modern conveniences now are forced to drive to nearby relatives and friends for showers and baths for their kids.
No water.
None.
Eric and Mary Larson, their daughters Ellen and Molly. For their toilets, the Larsons are now carrying water by hand from the kids' waiting pool in the front yard.
We keep telling the girls to flush the toilets, and now we say don't flush the toilet. They're confused.
It's this spirit that's keeping everything even-tempered in Des Moines, and police dispatchers hope it will continue. By the way, they expect to have water back maybe by Sunday, according to L.D. McMullen, who is the manager of the Des Moines Water Works, but they won't have safe drinking water for at least another 30 days. And while the Midwest was soaking, the northernmost city in the country had a different kind of record-setting weather. The temperature in Barrow, Alaska hit 79 degrees yesterday. That's an all-time high. People there cooled off on the shores of the Arctic Ocean, which was littered with ice floes. The normal high in Barrow this time of the year, about 45 degrees. When Nightly News continues in a moment, flood control and disaster relief. Can the government handle it?
I really didn't want my husband to color his gray hair.
But then I discovered this, the hair coloring called Just for Men.
And now he looks better than ever.
Simply apply Just for Men, and in 5 minutes, rinse. Just for Men blends away the gray for a totally natural look. No wonder 8 out of 10 women prefer the Just for Men look to the gray look.
It's like you took off 10 years.
And in just 5 minutes.
Just for Men. She'll love the way you look.
If you're concerned about regularity, these are the facts. When asked, 9 out of 10 doctors agreed they would recommend this, a high-fiber diet, and Kellogg's All Bran. so they may not have to recommend this. Finally, some advice from doctors you can actually enjoy. A high-fiber diet and Kellogg's All Brand, doctor recommended for drug-free regularity.
You make me feel so young.
New Promise Ultra, the first fat-free margarine, just 5 calories a serving.
You make me feel so young.
New fat-free Promise Ultra. Get heart smart.
While you weren't looking, something magical happened. The durability of an oil-based enamel and the easy cleanup of a latex came together. Hard to believe? Try it and see. New Duratex Colors Enamels from Red Devil for the finish of a lifetime.
Tonight, the flooded Midwest is backdrop for another Nightly News Insiders Report. That's our periodic look at critical issues by NBC News correspondents who are closest to these stories. Tonight, flood control efforts and disaster relief. Is Washington on the spot? NBC's Robert Hager.
The Army Corps of Engineers Operations Center in Washington. New reports of breaks in levees posted this morning. The Corps is responsible for preventing floods. Across town, FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, is responsible for dealing with disasters once they occur.
The Corps gets $1.5 billion a year from taxpayers for flood control, which in this case hasn't worked. Flooding along the Mississippi is supposed to be controlled by a series of levees along the riverbank and reservoirs and the tributaries upstream. But each one of these pins represents a place in which the levee has now been broken or the water has gone over it.
There are about 300 such breaches so far. The Corps' General Stanley Ganiga.
The level of protection, while adequate for many other events, is not adequate for this event.
Why? In part because communities and the federal government had gambled that a flood this big would never happen. In part because spending for flood control has been cut by tight budgets for more than a decade. And insiders say because of pressure from environmentalists, the Corps of Engineers is spending more time worrying about preserving wetlands and less time on levees, which some critics contend don't work in any event.
The other agency, FEMA, gets nearly $1 billion a year from taxpayers, sometimes more, for disaster relief, which in many cases hasn't worked very well either.
If you live in the Midwest and are counting on FEMA, consider the agency's slow response after Hurricane Hugo in 1989 and the San Francisco earthquake, and after Hurricane Andrew last year. Dade County, Florida's Director of Preparedness, Kathleen Hale.
Somewhere between the resources and the requests and the promises, everything bollocksed up. And I'm not really sure where it happened or why it happened. We just knew that it was happening, and what had to be done is the system was dysfunctional.
Victims of Hurricane Andrew were forced to wait days for food and shelter and wait in long lines to complete form after form. Almost a year later, Dade County's still at odds with FEMA over the cost of replacing trees down by the storm. And 4 years after the San Francisco earthquake, repairs in the Bay Area have still not been completed. Some of the largest claims still unsettled. Maryland Senator Barbara Mikulski says FEMA should be overhauled.
Too many political hacks. It has been a dumping ground for political appointees in previous administrations. We want to professionalize the agency.
Some argue the U.S. military should take the lead in disaster relief. It has by far the most people and equipment, and its help after Hurricane Andrew was invaluable. But other insiders believe FEMA's new director, James Lee Witt, has a shot at turning the agency around. It's made a good start along the Mississippi. But the real test for the government disaster agencies will come in the long days ahead, after the water recedes. Robert Hager, NBC News, Washington.
Now we have some other news from around the world. Mexico said today it will permit 3 shiploads of Chinese refugees to land in that country, but it will immediately send them back to China. More than 650 refugees are crammed into the ships, which the Clinton administration has refused to allow into the United States. In Somalia tonight, fierce fighting between UN troops and Somali gunmen near the Mogadishu airport and the UN compound. This only hours after Somali militants threatened to attack U.S. targets in the capital and called on Muslims around the world to kill Americans. Also today, the UN said Italian troops who object to the fighting of the last few days would now be redeployed to the more peaceful Somali countryside. When Nightly News continues in a moment, some of the nation's most exclusive resorts on the auction block.
Oh, guys, my commercial. Listen, we Thins pack a ton of hearty taste into a snack that's smart to eat. See? The smart little snack that's big on taste. You're deliciously correct, oh maternal one. That.
Orchard Crisps? Where are my Harvest Crisps?
Relax, Reed. They're still here. Orchard Crisps are new.
With whole grains and the taste of real fruit baked in. Apple cinnamon.
Banana walnut.
And low fat. I'm speechless.
For once.
I love them.
I'm about to cook a low-fat feast before your very eyes, using all-natural Pam cooking spray instead of oil or butter. With Pam, nothing comes between you and the taste of your food. No funny aftertaste to cover up the flavors. And it's the only leading spray that's 100% natural. You cut down on fat and cholesterol, not on taste. With Pam, nothing comes between you and the taste of your food.
The fear of bad breath. The threat of plaque. The menace of the gum infection. Gingivitis. Only one leading mouthwash protects you against all three. Only one. Listerine Antiseptic. It's there to protect you.
0700. The milk is on your Kellogg's Crispix when... Eddie's.
Private. Colonel, sir. Something on that table interests you? Just poured the milk on my Crispix, sir.
It's times like these you're thankful Kellogg's Crispix special shape helps it stay crispy and delicious in mouth.
Eddie's. Hey, still crispy. Excuse me, Private. Still crispy, sir.
Kellogg's Crispix, the taste that waits for you.
This summer, Wednesday nights get hotter when two of television's top anchors team up for a brand new primetime program. Tom Brokaw and Katie Couric together this August on NBC.
In medical news tonight, a new heart drug, still experimental, but a study published in the New England Journal of Medicine suggests that it can substantially reduce congestive heart failure. During research tests on nearly 500 patients, the drug, Vesnaranon, cut the death rate by 62%. Turning now to the American economy, more good news on inflation tonight. The government is reporting cost of living unchanged in June. That's the first month without an increase in more than 2 years. Another encouraging note. Retail sales were up slightly last month for the third straight month. And on Wall Street today, the good word on inflation sent stocks sharply upward. Trading today was heavy. For people here, much of life has been reduced to the basics, as you might expect, but life's problems go on elsewhere, even in the world of the rich and famous. In Dallas today, for example, the Resolution Trust Company, the federal agency cleaning up the savings and loan mess, put 6 of America's most luxurious resorts on the auction block. One of them, a posh club in Florida. NBC's Bob Dotson.
The rich may seem different from you and me, but they're not. We own their playground, Palm Beach Polo and Country Club. The government took over when Oak Tree Federal Savings of New Orleans went under and bankrupted the place. The club is losing money at the rate of $3.2 million a year. Guess who pays that bill? Taxpayers help keep these folks in the style to which they've grown accustomed. How about unlimited golf with a free cart for $78 a week?
We have 2.5 golf courses for probably 350 golfers. I mean, they're spoiled.
Houses here can sell for millions, but club membership costs less than a used car. Most folks bought in for $10,000.
Nobody wants any sympathy here.
Just first dibs. Before today's auction, Tom Hill and a group of homeowners asked for special consideration. They didn't get it.
We simply are not willing to have the taxpayers subsidize their lifestyles.
Members did manage to pony up $16 million, but George Straub offered 27, about half of what the place is worth. What happens if the new owner no longer underwrites the fund?
Look, when they take the subsidy off bread in the streets of Cairo, they have riots. And it's absolutely no different here.
It has started a very uncivil war. Neither golfers nor horse riders are willing to pay more for the other's good times.
I like my cars, I like my horses, and I don't want to give them up in order to support a 2,000-acre club and all the amenities that go with it.
They would like to be permitted to play polo there for the cost of cutting the grass.
The bankruptcy court will determine next month if there is real money behind today's bid. If not, the members could still win. Their $16 million offer was in cash. Bob Dotson, NBC News, Palm Beach County, Florida.
Her name is Sarah, and she's lucky, because today she'll encounter egrets doing dances and alligators in the wild. She'll see how other moms take care of their kids, and she'll be doing this, recycling, through a program of the National Park Service and its recycling partner, Dow.
We can make a difference in what tomorrow brings.
Together with the National Park Service and folks like Sarah.
Dow lets you do great things.
Look, I'm the last guy you'd see doing something that's good for me. But you know what? I started walking every other morning and eating Wheaties. I'll admit it, I'm hooked. I found out that Wheaties is made with 100% whole grain. Most cereals aren't. And it's a low-fat energy source. All I know is I like the way I feel. I'm not going to tell you I'm a new man, but I'd definitely say I improved. I just want to feel more fit. I'm getting into Wheaties.
To be a Blue Ribbon champion, you've got to get up pretty early. And helping Jan get a jump on her day is decaffeinated Folgers Crystals with that great waking up aroma. Aroma that starts with mountain-grown beans, fresh brewed, then crystallized. Coffee darker than the other leading decaffeinated. Darkness that signals all the eye-opening aroma and rich taste to come. Decaffeinated Folgers Crystals.
The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'll never go back to denture pastes or powders again.
Here's why. C-Bond Denture Adhesive. Two powerful adhesives in a soft, micro-thin seal bonds dentures to your gums, can hold comfortably all day.
You'll never go back to pastes or powders again.
C-Bond.
Day after day, you make those glasses of thick Metamucil disappear. Why not make them all disappear with FiberCon? Doctor-recommended FiberCon gives you the same fiber regularity in tablets.
Easy to swallow tablets.
Get doctor-recommended FiberCon.
Tomorrow morning on Today, we'll go live to the Midwest for the latest on the floods. Also, actress Kathy Najimy and some help for stage fright. Join us tomorrow morning and see what a difference today makes.
The Midwest has had floods before, of course. After all, this is the home of the Mississippi, the Missouri, the Illinois, the Des Moines, and hundreds of smaller rivers. But this time, they all flooded at once. And so the ground here is saturated, first by record rains, then by floods, and all this water is here to stay a while. Mid-America is under siege. And for President Clinton, who worked hard to win this section of the country in the '92 election, the pressure is on. 3 years from now, the voters will remember how the White House responded in this crisis. The president can't control the water, but he'd better be sure that he can control the bureaucracy, that it is not waterlogged. That's Nightly News for this Wednesday night. From the site of the great floods, a story that will command our attention for the rest of the summer. And we will have continuing coverage on this NBC station tomorrow morning on Sunrise and, of course, on Today. And I'll see you again tomorrow night on NBC Nightly News.